Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. Welcome back to West Lindsey, everybody. Now, it amazes me sometimes how many ruined, abandoned old farm buildings you find out in places like this. Look at this one behind me for a great example. You can see it's definitely run down, certainly seen better days. But you know what? That's part of the rural charm that West Lindsey just has in abundance. You know, something about it I just like seeing. I'm not quite sure what, but I see an old abandoned farm building. For some reason it makes me feel at home. I don't know why. Anyway, this can be found in HOLTON CUM BECKERING. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Wragby Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Grayingham, near Curtin in Lindsey. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. You won't find many places in this country quite like this one. 6 miles away from Market Rasen, there's HOLTON CUM BECKERING, which is made up of 2 settlements, the larger village of Holton and the smaller hamlet of Beckering. It's sited upon a road junction where the B1399 to Lincoln meets the B1202 from Market Rasen to Wragby. At first glance, it might seem to be a corner of Lincolnshire that's uninteresting, but you'd be very wrong. It's a small village, yes, but one with a very unique history. For centuries, it was associated with the Caldecott family, and there are 2 buildings here heavily associated with them. However, in the 1940s, thanks to the war, a group of people changed the course of Holton's history. Made up of accountants, clerks, teachers, journalists and artists, a lot of them were very wealthy and came from all over the country. One of the group's original number would found the Holton Players, who are now known as the Lindsey Rural Players. That's the group that own and operate the Broadbent Theatre in Wickham. Many of their descendants still live in and around Holton today. One of those descendants would go on to be a very successful actor, and another would be the frontman for a popular 90s Britpop band. I tell you, there's every chance a visit to HOLTON CUM BECKERING will lead you down a path you never expected to take. Well, at least that's what happened to me. Let's go and check it all out, shall we? We begin in Beckering at Abbey Farm off the B1202. The farm isn't all that interesting if I'm totally honest, but it is the site of one of the parish's listed buildings, Abbey Farm House, which dates back to the late 17th century. The name Abbey Farm is a little misleading as far as I can tell. It would usually imply the presence of an abbey or some other religious building at some point in the past, but here there appears to never have been one. That said, both Holton and Beckering do have some earthworks and crop marks dotted around them, which suggest a medieval settlement, so I guess it's possible. Speaking of farms though, Holton isn't far away from another with Abbey in its name, Collow Abbey Farm. For the record, that might well have had a Cistercian grange at some point in its history. However, Collow Abbey Farm is important to understanding most of the rest of this video, and today's special section will tell you exactly why. In 1940, a group of conscientious objectors who refused to fight in World War II set up a farming community in Holton cum Beckering and Wragby. Known as Conchies, many were from wealthy backgrounds with no experience of working the land. Local farmer John Brocklesby leased Collow Abbey Farm, at the time a rundown mess, to them in order for them to hone their skills. One of their number was Roy Broadbent. You've heard that name before, right? Yes, he's the man who converted the old Methodist chapel in Wickenby into the Broadbent Theatre. His son, the famous actor Jim, was born in Holton in 1944. Another member of the group was the architect Edmund Albarn, the grandfather of Blur frontman Damon Albarn. He joined the community in 1948. Many of the Conchies' descendants still live in Holton to this day, and in 2017 a play called Remembrance, starring many of them, told the whole story at the Broadbent Theatre. Our main walk begins at Laurel's Farm. No Conchies here though folks, this one's got a different story. It's a traditional 19th century farmstead which is set around a courtyard. Right next to the farm is Grangemead, which members of the Camping and Caravan Club may well know. Not sure if this is still in business though. The Laurel's care home though certainly isn't. This closed in 2021 after serious concerns were raised over infection control. When it was open, it could accommodate 30 people. The rest of Lincoln Road is a nice mix of housing. Most of it is detached and pretty pricey, it has to be said. I guess if a village is idyllic like Holton is, property will have a pretty high price tag. A lot of them are new as well, or at least have been renovated recently. As we approach the B1202, we're treated to perhaps the best of the lot, Ivy Lodge, which at almost £500,000 ranks as the 9th most expensive in the village. Okay, so we've seen quite a few beautiful properties so far, haven't we? And I'm still within sight of the car actually, so I haven't gone very far. And you can see behind me we've got Holton's church, so we're going to go through the gate and into the churchyard and talk about this next. Holton's church is dedicated to All Saints and it's a Grade 1 listed building. It has a chancel, a nave, a south porch and a square tower which contains 3 bells. In the porch there's a small tablet which is the village's war memorial. It's for World War I only and there are 5 names listed here. Let's go inside. This one's really pretty. In here you'll find a carved oak screen that separates the chancel from the nave. There's a few war tablets in here as well. This one, for example, is about a former rector, but there are plenty of others which remember the Caldecott family, who for centuries were the local landowners. The oldest part of the building is the lower section of the tower, which dates from the 13th century. All Saints still retains its original narrow tower arch too. It was restored twice, in 1860 and 1874, both times by George Gilbert Scott. He repaired both aisles and rebuilt the north arcade, a mortuary chapel and the roof. Okay, back outside and we can exit the churchyard via another entrance, which is a good thing. Keeps the route circular. It's not really a circular village this though by any stretch of the imagination. It's very much linear and it's on a bend actually, and that bend you might be able to just about see it here, sort of heading off into the distance to the right. We're going to head round that bend a little way and then turn around and come back, because after that bend it sort of goes out off into the countryside up towards Lissington. So yeah, we'll carry on up there and then turn around. There's still one big landmark to see here yet, a massive one. If you were to follow the road north towards Lissington, you would pass the site of Holton's primitive Methodist chapel, which has long since been demolished. Sticking in the village though, we're now in what is effectively the centre. Here's a bus stop, and Holton is served by the 146, which runs between Lincoln and Market Rasen. There's no post office here, nor is there a shop, but that doesn't stop Holton from having a George V postbox, and it's set into the wall behind the bus stop. The junction where all of this is located is in front of a drive that leads to Holton Hall, an early 18th century country house that's Grade 2 listed. The trees on its drive are slightly in the way, but you can just about see it here. This, for many years, was the seat of the Caldecotts. And all that's left to do from here is to amble down towards the southern edge of civilization. As you leave Holton to the south, you get this wonderful view over the Lincolnshire countryside. So it is a little bit frustrating when trees get in the way of buildings that you really do want to capture, but I think I did my best there. Not really much I could do about it really. I can't chop the tree down and I can't walk up the drive. Both things would be illegal, so you know. Do the best I can. Okay, we are done with the walk around Holton cum Beckering. All I've got to do is walk from here at the sort of southernmost extent of Holton back to the car where I parked it outside the Laurels, and yeah, that's it. Another one down in West Lindsey. Time for me to move on to my next one. By the way, don't anyone tell me that Lincolnshire is not beautiful. Would you check out that view from here? It's just amazing, and if anyone tells you different, they're wrong. End of. They are wrong. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Holton cum Beckering, and I'm out.